In this challenge review, we are going to create the sword arc animation. The first thing I need to do is I need to get a reference to that sword animation. So I'm going to come down here and we're going to say private animator and underscore sword animation. This is going to be just for the sword animation. This one here is our player animation. We may or may not want to specify that specifically, but since we are in a player animation script, I can assume that underscore anim is part of the sword animator or part of the player. So here we have our private animator sword animation. We now need to get that component. So we're going to say sword animation equals, we can't just say get component in children because it's going to grab the player animation. It's going to grab the first sprite. What I need to do is I need to grab the second child element and then get component on the animator. So when working with get component, it's a very hierarchical structure. You can see here that we are currently on the player. We need to go into our children. I want the second object, which is the first element. So if we are looking into an array of elements here, or of children, we have 0 and 1. I need this guy. So Unity provides us with a functionality to do just that. We can type sword animation equals, we're going to say transform. To get our transform on this object, I'm going to say get child, and I want the index of the child. So we want the first element child. And then once I have that child, I'm going to say get component, and we're going to get the animator. That is going to allow us to grab that sword arc. An alternative here is we could make this a serialized field and drag it into the inspector, but I found that best practices, you want to make sure to avoid having any null issues down the road, that you grab the reference directly. We save this, and now we can go ahead and use that animation here. So we anim.setTriggerAttack, and at the same time, we're going to say sword animation.setTrigger sword animation. And there we go. Sword animation, everything looks good here. We save our scene. Let's head back into Unity. Let's run our game, and let's see if there's anything that we can clean up here. So I attack. You can see here that it's playing, but it's instantly going back, and we're not seeing anything. And if you look on our sprite render as well, you can actually see here that it does go to the attack. However, it is not animating here in our sprite. So let's go ahead and see what happened, or what is wrong here. So after restarting Unity, the functionality that we want started happening, so that could have just been a small hiccup. But one of the things I want to make sure is that our settings are aligned. So if we look here at the none motion or animation here, it's the default state, and we transition based on the sword animation here. It's has exit time is none, fixed duration or transition duration is 0. We play this animation, and our transition back to none is going to just be a basic transition. It's going to have a standard exit time. The transition duration, we can keep that at 0.25. It's not going to hurt anything. We save our scene, we run the game, and we now have our animation. You'll see here that as I slash, we get our arc. That's exactly what we want. In the next video, we're going to clean up the arc and timing and positioning.